Taylor Swift. She announced that her new album is going to be coming out next month. Lover. Ugh. Don't like the title name. Haven't been huge fans of the single so far, although definitely pretty catchy. And I think ear grabbing if you listen to them enough. But the real controversy with Taylor Swift right now is she, in that same post where she announced her album title, she also was talking about how her worst nightmare has come to light when Scooter Braun acquired Big Machine Label Group, which owns the rights, the masters to Taylor's first 5 albums. And she has a long history of 6 albums. Oh, I thought it was only her first 5. So Taylor has a bit of a history with Scooter Braun. You know, he's this entertainment executive. He represents a lot of big name artists: Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, Kanye West, Demi Lovato, and Carly Rae Jepsen, just to name a couple others. But, you know, as Taylor, we've talked about the controversy between her and Kim Kardashian, her and Kanye West in recent years. She felt very bullied by Scooter Braun and Kanye West throughout all of that. And because of that, she feels like now her bully has her creative life in her hands, or at least her creative past. What do you think about all this, Dave?
Yeah, it's very interesting because this whole talking point about artists, labels, and owning master recordings and all that is being framed through Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift is probably not the best messenger for this issue just because she herself carries a lot of baggage as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember when I first saw the news of it, I just immediately bristled because I haven't been a fan of the way Taylor's been carrying herself really since that whole feud with Kim, as you mentioned. So I just didn't really want to hear another pity party, woe is me from Taylor, you know. But
right.
I think if you dig into it, you know, as a fan of music, as an observer of the music industry, it's hard not to take Taylor Swift's side, even if, as plenty of other people have elaborated on since, it feels like both sides are not telling you exactly how everything has gone down. But I think the overall principle of everything, which is probably a more interesting thing to discuss anyway, sounds like it's firmly on the Taylor side. But this also isn't actually anything that new, to be honest. It's just probably more publicized than usual.
Yeah, I even wonder what like the sides are here. You know, that Taylor Swift says that she should be able to own her own music, and Scooter says that, you know, I acquired this through the appropriate channels, so I actually do own it now. And you know, I think Taylor's principle and the idea of artists owning their creative work makes a lot of sense and is right. Just the way that the whole industry is set up right now, though, neither one has really done anything wrong. You can go into the weeds and talk about was Scooter Braun and Kanye's actions, and I guess Scooter by association, appropriate. You know, you also wonder, like you said, what role did Taylor Swift actually play in some of this? Because I think she is not blameless in some of the controversy that has come about. Certainly, she seems to be making herself the victim, and I think some of the things like Kanye posting a naked lookalike in the Famous video is certainly something that is a bit out of her hands. But you know, you heard the recording that Kim did illegally between her and Kanye, and she seemed to be on board with what Kanye was putting out there. Again, that was also a doctor video, so we're only getting partial stories. But I do agree that the more interesting idea is like, why aren't artists allowed to own their songs? That these labels, you know, can technically own their work, but the artist is the one who performs them, writes them, kind of makes them.
Yeah, well, the thing is, as I said, you know, just with the whole he said, she said of it all, Scooter's company bought Big Machine, which had been going through a sort of bidding war for some time now. People knew Scott Borchetta was trying to sell it, but he bought it for $300 million, right? And thus he gets all their assets. The chief, most desirable stuff, of course, is Taylor's lucrative 6 past albums, right? And we don't know if Taylor was offered, hey, Taylor, you can give us $300 million and then own the label yourself. Obviously, she had signed with Universal through Republic last year leading up to this new album. So she had already left Big Machine. But the whole he said she said of whether Taylor was given the choice. I mean, ultimately the labels have to be altruistic to uh, give you any kind of discount on it. I think apparently they offered her you can re-up with Big Machine, and you can earn back your past albums as you make new ones, and uh, and of course Taylor's dad is a is a uh, shareholder, like a board member of Big Machine, or was anyway. So
Hmm.
a lot of messy stuff there. But yeah, Taylor signed with Big Machine a 6 album deal when she was 15 years old. And
Yep.
a lot of times when anybody new coming up signs with a major label, the master recordings are owned by the record label. That's just the way it goes because the record label is usually taking on all of the risk. They're giving money upfront to the artist and hoping it pans out. And I think as Prince said, if you don't own your masters, your master owns you, which is
Yep.
is a fair point. But the thing about it is like Taylor Swift is not exactly dying for cash or anything, right? Now, because she doesn't own her masters, she can't, actually license the music herself into like movies or commercials or video games or anything. And she couldn't put out a greatest hits album from those old albums on her own. Um, but she's still fine. And of course, now she has a new deal where she will be owning her masters moving forward.
Hmm.
So I think the bigger question is it's like you look at the way things have started to change with newer artists, especially in hip hop. XXXTentacion, leave his personal issues aside, was actually very smart in the way he was handling everything because he was just signing one-off distribution only deals where he was not getting much of any money up front, but had much higher royalty rates and actually owned the stuff he made.
Hmm.
Um, the problem is that's not exactly something you can tell everyone to do because X already had a
No.
built-in fan base. He knew it would work.
Right.
Um, so if you don't have that and the label is taking a risk on you, it's really hard to convince them to not keep your stuff. So I really don't know what the problem is, but like yes, artists should own the art they make, but it's complicated no matter how big or small the artist is.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone like Chance seems to be the template for this, where he still owns all of his rights to his songs. But it takes a lot more groundwork. Chance, released these mixtapes and they blew up, but for a lot of people to get to that level, it takes a little bit more pushing. It takes more connection, and you need the help from that label to get your music out there. So I mean, like you said, this isn't a new issue. Something Prince was dealing with back in the '90s. There's been rights issues probably dating back to I think it was like the Beatles and
Mm-hmm.
them wanting to have their own
Michael
their songs
Jackson
and
owned
yeah,
some of their songs.
exactly. So there's it's a complicated issue and not a real clear solution. But I do think, kind of like you said, a lot of younger artists who might want to take a bet on themselves will probably start doing things like X did, or maybe developing contracts where they say, if after this many years I have the chance to buy this back by making some sort of deal where they earn the right back over time. It's going to be really interesting. Just kind of to I guess look on the celebrity side of this. I mean, this is a pretty high profile feud. Justin Bieber was coming at Taylor Swift in a very passive aggressive Instagram post. Ariana Grande initially posted in support of Scooter and then pulled it back and tweeted on the side of Taylor Swift. It seems like there's people on both sides of this that are coming at from different angles. Where do you exactly fall with it?
Yeah, and also I think Halsey, Alessia Cara, they both came at it from the men controlling women angle of it all. And
Mm,
while maybe a part of Scooter was like maybe smirking to have a leg up on Taylor Swift business wise, he's buying the label and thus getting her music because it's a smart business move first.
yeah.
That's what's motivating everything. So I really feel like the gender angle is there's just not a lot of smoke to that if you really dig into it. But
Hmm.
yeah, the celebrity stuff's interesting because Scooter Braun really is the only famous music manager, music agent we have right now. That role has largely gone away. Obviously, used
Hmm.
to be many more high profile ones of past generations. So he's kind of he has a brand of himself. And actually, the way he does business is kind of interesting too. He doesn't actually directly manage really any of these artists. He just invests in management companies that manage these artists. So it's very interesting. Um, but yeah, I think you just kind of have to just try and parse out the facts. And like we said, it's tough to know. It's tough to believe either side's giving you everything exactly how it went down. But I
Mhm.
think you just gotta take away that tell the artists that are much lower profile than any of these people chiming in to do everything you can to own your stuff if you can, because the downside is tough. And you can look at artists like Sky Ferreira, who's still struggling with that. It doesn't
Sure.
always pan out for everyone. So it's complicated, and I'm sure we might hear some more. I doubt it. I doubt it's over. There'll probably be more shots, maybe another Tumblr post. Who knows? And it'll probably come up again when the next artist happens. I know Blueface was in an interview like a few months ago, and they're asking about his deal, and he just like really didn't know. He's like, "I'm signed to Whack 100 and Cash Money West. That's all I know." And then everyone comments, "It's like, oh, 360 deal. You're fucked."
Yep.
It's like, and eventually, I'm sure he'll be mad about the
Yep.
situation. So you got to kind of take it upon yourself to understand exactly what you're signing up for. It's
Uh,
tough.
Speaking of Blueface, when's that album? Do we know?
Uh, I'm looking forward to. No date yet. It's coming.
I get that album out. Meanwhile, we'll be looking forward to Lover coming out next month. Hoping
Mm,
it'll be a bit of a surprise.
you need to
It'll
calm
surprise
down.
us with quality.